who are the top 20 pitching prospects in Major League Baseball. This list has gotten a massive update since the beginning of the year. We've had the graduations of Cam Schlittler, Peyton Tolley, Nolan McLean, and a lot of other guys that has pushed a wave of new names onto this list. We're going to walk through them, every single one of them in detail, what shapes they're throwing, their release traits, the results. I got a stuff model up here that's trying to project how they will fare in the major leagues along with some of their results. I want to start off with Seth Hernandez. He's my personal number one. I do believe there's a tier of 3 pitchers at the top that I would consider in like 60 future value tier as their median outcome, which is saying they're a number 3 pitcher in a rotation basically, as Fangraphs has it graded, which I like using, or about 3 WAR a season, which only about 20 names or so, 25 names a season are able to achieve. So these guys are the best, and Seth Hernandez to me is number 1. He has some pretty special traits. He extends a lot down the mound. His release height's pretty average. It's a pretty vertical slot and a very efficient four-seam fastball. So he's very much behind the baseball that allows it to carry and run. It works. He's sitting 97. He's touched 100 miles per hour. Again, ton of total movement on this pitch, partially because of the minor league baseball, which is a little different than the major league baseball. But even if this shape regresses, he'll still be very good. The thing that's insane about him is his changeup. The zone rate on this thing is 50%, which you can see down there. That is the specialty of his mix. A lot of other changeups that grade out really well in the minors have a bunch of vertical separation and velocity separation from a four-seam fastball. Seth Hernandez is good because he can locate it. And on top of that, he has some spin feel. It's not exceptional spin feel. His spin rate's pretty good, and the key to me is this shorter slider here. He's throwing it really hard, and that allows that pitch to succeed. It will allow it to succeed in the major leagues. I really like what he's doing. We'll take a look at his changeup right here. Again, it's kind of just like it matches four-seam playing really efficiently. I think that's why it's such a frustrating pitch. It's not like a Bugs Bunny-ish changeup. That's another one right there. He throws it right as well. It's just a really fun pitcher that I think is going to soar on lists. He's different than number 2 on my list, who's Kade Anderson, who's just dominating Double-A. He's a bit more advanced. If you put him in the majors right now, I think he would be a very successful pitcher. The key with Kade Anderson is that it's not really a special fastball. The release traits are kind of average. He has incredible command of his secondaries, and as a result of that, he's basically sitting in any count. And to righties in particular, which I'll flip to right here, bunch of strikes, bunch of zone miss. He's generating chase. He gets the ball on the ground. He's hard to do anything against because of how he approaches right-handed hitters. He mixes, as you'll see usages here, it's like 35% fastball, but then it's 18% or more of the slider, the changeup, and the curveball. He throws all those pitches in any count. I think the idea of a pitcher throwing any pitch in any count is way overrated. Just doesn't happen a lot because the guys don't have command like Kade Anderson does. The thing that's most interesting about him to me is that if you were to like project him going forward, I think he could succeed in the major leagues right now. But I also think there's a chance that he hops up and has like a second life if he adds some weight, adds some strength, and starts sitting more 94, 5, 6 in that area. He's more 93, 94 right now. But this dude's secondary command and feel, I think, was just so exceptional out of LSU that I'm stunned the Angels passed on him and went with Tyler Bremner, who we'll like. We'll talk about him at the end of this video. But he is the number 2 in my tier of 3 at the top. The third name up there is Ryan Sloan. A little bit different pitcher than these other guys. He's an extreme cut type, lower arm angle, but he's got big extension down the mound and a really low release height down at 5'6". Not really low, but below average. The key to him is that he also has really good secondaries, but they're more good from a raw shape standpoint. It's a really strong sweeper. He has a cutter and a changeup off that, more of like a split change. And he, to me, based on what he does with the ball, reminds me a lot of Shohei Ohtani, the pitcher. This is a comp I've thrown out elsewhere. Some people laugh at it. It's okay. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Ohtani. What I'm saying is that what he does with the ball, how he moves down the mound, is very comparable to Ohtani in a lot of ways. And to him, the thing that I think's more interesting, usually this cut shape, like this is kind of dead zoney, right? 16-4 in the shape. He touches a major league ball that might be 15-5 from a 5'6 release. It doesn't really stand out. I know he's 96, 97 on his velocity. The approach angle of this pitch is really flat. So he's got low slot, cut, flat approach four-seam that I think will work. He absolutely pounds the zone with this thing, generates a bunch of in-zone miss. His results are incredible. That is my tier of 3. And before I get on to the 55 future value tier, which is more like maybe your top 30, 40 pitching prospects, I will say if you're looking for 21 through 50, I have it in this awesome post of mine on my Substack, which I encourage you to check out. $5 a month, $30 a year. There's a free trial as well, which would get you in to take a peek at this. But I have these exact cards we're looking at for every single pitcher in there and a massive write-up on each of them as well. So I'm giving you my thoughts here, but I think you'll very much enjoy hopping into this Substack post if you are interested and continue through this video and want to look at the other 30 names that I point out. Now we jump to a slightly different tier. That's my tier 3 up top, the 60 future value guys. Now let's go to the 55 future value, a step below. This is their median outcome, 2.5 WAR a season, more like a 3 or 4 in a rotation. And let's see who my first guy is right there. I really like Liam Doyle of the Cardinals. So I get there's some concerns around the delivery. It's a little wacky. It's kind of funky. It's almost Tarek Skubal in a way, which I don't know. He's not Tarek Skubal, but I think his delivery and some of the, hey, he might be a reliever, it's kind of wacky concerns are a bit overstated, primarily because fastball foundation for a starting pitching prospect is so incredibly important. You cannot be a successful major league starter if you don't have a good four-seam fastball. His four-seam fastball is great. I love this thing. 19 inches of vertical break. It's 96 miles per hour. He's got a vertical slot, which is why he's able to get that ride and carry. He throws hard. The VAA is flat because he hammers the top of the zone. There's not as many strikes here as like Kade Anderson, Ryan Sloan, even Seth Hernandez. Seth Hernandez is a bit of a control problem, which I didn't really mention, but I don't think it's going to be a massive issue long term because of how good his secondaries are. But back to Liam Doyle, it's a massive amount of zone miss because of how good this four-seam fastball is. He's throwing it a lot. And I'm kind of just betting that the Cardinals figure out the secondaries around him in his repertoire to allow this profile to shoot forward. He's throwing more cutter, throwing more slider and pro ball, throwing a bit of split. I think that's all good. The key to him is the four-seam fastball. Really strong pitch. We'll take a look at him. Again, you can see the funky mechanics. That's the split right there. Kind of a developing offering for him. Kind of the cutter, slider, shorter pitch there. See if we get a fastball here. That's the fastball that I think is so exceptional. So really fun pitching prospect, fastball focused. River Ryan is my number 5. He's an interesting arm because he's older. He's already 26 years old. I know there's a lot of people that wouldn't really project him as like a top 10 guy purely from an age standpoint, but he just grades out so well in the minor leagues that it's really hard for me to leave him outside of my top 10. Again, really good release traits, down to 5'6". He extends well down the mound. There's a bit of cut on the four seam. He spins the ball really well. The key for me is this curveball. It's 83 miles per hour with like 25 inches of total movement, which is exceptional for a curveball. He strikes everything. His handedness splits are really nice, as you've probably been peeking up here. It's split by handedness. So how is he going to fare versus righties? How is he going to fare versus lefties? He kind of feels like trade bait to me. I don't entirely know whether the Dodgers need another pitcher like this. The innings track record's a little funky, so if you want to fade him on the injury stuff, I get it. But what he does with the ball from a mixed standpoint, four-seam playability standpoint, the ability for him to throw 6 pitches that are all probably above average or a little better, really exceptional. Not going to show video on him. Not going to show video on Noah Schultz either. He's been up in the majors. I know he's hurt. Right now, he's got some knee stuff that's bothered him for each of the last 2 seasons. He's a really interesting like body height relationship kind of guy because he's so big. His release height is higher than average for the arm angle he has, if that makes any sense. I mean, he's up at 6'7". He's a skyscraper. Makes a lot of sense that his point in space that he's releasing the ball is a little bit higher up despite the arm angle being low. He cuts everything he throws. He's kind of like a seam shifty kind of pitcher to me, which I think the White Sox have kind of targeted ever since Brian Bannister and some other individuals came in there. I'm not giving up on him at all. I know he's a short extender, kind of a weirder pitcher. He has shown strike feel. He gets that strike feel back after getting over this knee stuff. I think a lot of people will regret pushing him way down their list if they're kind of fading him right now. So I'm kind of holding the line on him, so to speak. Another name that I nailed if you watch my draft stuff last year is Gage Wood. I love this guy because I was uncertain why everyone in baseball was hesitating on a dude who absolutely dominated in the College World Series, had a sick fastball from an approach angle standpoint. He's like negative 3.9 VAA. And on top of that, his breaking ball feel to me was some of the best in the class. I don't necessarily know if you surefire project him as a starting pitcher long term. He's got a little of the Liam Doyle, shows delivery in a second, but flat approach four seam, strong breaking ball shapes here. 86 miles per hour, negative 2 and 8 is kind of like a Chase Burns light. And on top of that, he's got a really sick curveball at 83. I comped him, I think, to like Shane Baz was my comp. He's funky in a couple ways. Big extension again. The release height is really attractive. He throws strikes. He gets in-zone miss. The stuff models love him. Far over towards the third base side of the rubber for a right-handed pitcher. The distinctive thing with him, it's this weird glove pat, which I admit is a little odd. I'm not going to discount a guy on mechanics alone. I'm not of the scouting area biomechanics space to be confident that I can judge a pitcher for how they're moving and that projectability as a starting pitcher. I'm kind of trusting the organization here. I think the the Phillies do a pretty good job with Caleb Cotham and some others in their organization. I'm in on him. Flat approach four seam, really good breaking ball feel. He's going to figure it out. At worst, he's like a dominant closer. I know that's a little bit scary to put up at number 7, but he's a very good pitcher, and I'm really happy that I was high on him during the draft cycle. Anthony Eyanson, another name. This dude is wacky. He added a bunch of velocity out of LSU. He was a name that in the draft cycle, for me, if you watch that draft video, everyone was kind of fading to me because they didn't think he did enough with the ball to actually be able to project as a starting pitcher. The reality is everyone just underrated how easy it was for the Red Sox to give him velocity. I know he's kind of gone through a rough spot here, some speculation that he's injured. They started giving him a cutter, but it's a super high slot and everything he throws is very vertical, which has its advantages and its disadvantages. The disadvantage is that he's pretty maxed out from a repertoire standpoint. He's not going to be able to do anything else. He can't spin the ball. It's really low spin rates. And I think that will affect his ability to adjust in the majors if he runs into issues. But he's gotten such good results on the stuff he throws because his release height's up at 6.5 feet. So it's very downhill plane. He's a little like Trey Savagey. I'd say a little bit more cut, not as behind the ball. That allows him to kind of get a little glove side in his curveball. But it's all slider here, all splitter. You're trying to minimize the fastball as much as possible. And yeah, it's a really weird slot mix, delivery, and everything. I think he's good. I think it'll work. It may take some time. I'm not entirely sure what the upside is. Initially, when I built this list, he was way up. Kind of cut him back a little after talking to some people and being like, listen, this repertoire is maxed out. It should be dominating Double A. There's not much to do when it gets to the majors. So that's my slight hesitation with him. But still, number 8 for me. He finishes off this tier. Before we move to a very big tier, which is, you'd call it the 50 future value tier. These are 2 WAR guys, about 70 of them or so a year, 60 of them a year in baseball. I'm going to split it into 2 tiers and rip through what I call like the 50A tier. So the guys that I like a bit more than the second half. But again, this is a very flat tier. You're getting into a lot of names where there's similarities between guys. And as a result of that, you run into differences that are very small. So the difference between 9 and 22, which I won't get to in this video, I'm going to get to 20 and 21, is not big, right? You can flip those guys. I'm not going to complain with you. That's why I have tier breaks in here. That's why everybody should have tier breaks in here. Christian Zazueta is my number 9, another Dodger. I know, very good at pitching development, despite the fact they have the highest walk rate in the minor leagues this season and for last season as well. They don't really find the zone. It doesn't really matter. Zazueta is really good, partially because, again, we're hunting release traits. We're hunting very strong fastball shapes. He's got a very strong fastball shape. He jumped about 1.5 miles in average velocity. He's now sitting 95. Good, like, two-planey shape. This is the classic Dodger fastball they like a lot. It's a flat approach to the zone. And on top of that, he has like the shorter, harder slider at 86 with some lift and some glove side. There's probably an ability to add in a cutter and a sweeper. Sometimes the breaking ball data gets a little bit messed up, so maybe there are 2 shapes in there. This is the blend of the 2 of them. But the Dodgers don't love going towards bigger sweep with their relievers, or excuse me, their starting pitchers. So he's really fun. I love the approach. There's a bunch of strikes. He's a young guy. The changeup feels really good too, which I believe is in this video. We'll take a look at just how he moves. Just short arm. Low release height, you could see pretty lateral right here as opposed to like Eyanson, who's way up there. That's the changeup right there, right. Really good pitcher. He's flown up in the system. They're really good at adding velocity. This guy needed velocity, and that's the result you get. Carson Mulbrandt is another flyer who's really kicked up the season. He's got like a 24% K- walk. Stuff models don't love him, partially because some of the AAA ball, he got up to AAA, it started to affect him a bit, but he does something that I think is really important and also unique. I call him like a hybrid. You have like this category of supinators, guys who cut the ball. You have another category of pronators, the guys who are very much behind the ball. Mulbrandt straddles the line to me. He does both really well. The 97% efficiency on the four-seamer, and he's up at 95. Pretty good two-plane shape, even though this is contracted a little with the major league ball. The release traits aren't really anything, but the fact that he could do that and then do something that I was mentioning with Gage Wood, where he creates depth on breaking balls really nicely. 88 mile per hour, basically pure bullet slider, alongside an 85 mile per hour sweeper with a bunch of depth as well. Fun arm, and an arm that is going to be heavily breaking ball reliant. He's got this big kick changeup as well. The Marlins love moving dudes off four-seam fastball. He's at 41%. This is going to come down, especially given he has really good slider feel. I kind of view him as like a slightly more evolved version of Max Meyer. Meyer has a really fun downer slider sweeper shape. Mulbrandt can go to a curve as well. He's got a little more spin feel, I think, and he has four-seam feel. So maybe he's like the super-powered version of Max Meyer, where he has a good four-seam shape alongside the fact that he can create depth on hard breaking balls, which is really important. Number 11 is Tanner McDougal. He has a flexor strain right now, but I can't get over how much I love this dude's four-seam fastball. If you're just looking to bet on the dude who has the most velocity on this list, it's Tanner McDougal. He sits 98.5. He's touched 101, basically. It's a big ride-run shape. I love how he uses his four-seam fastball away to right-handed hitters. He kind of like sets up out of third and lets it rip back over the plate. It's a heavy called strike weapon. It's not crazy big zone, but on top of the fact that he throws hard, he has decent spin feel. The breaking ball is huge. It's not exceptional top-end breaking ball feel, but the fact that he just throws this hard allows him to create decent breaking ball shape enough that I think it will work in the major leagues. It's just using velocity to kind of protect the rest of his repertoire, but yeah, he throws gas. He's a big dude. I understand putting a guy with a flexor strain on here is probably a bit insane, but I'm not confident that I can project injury better than anybody else on this list or anybody else in the industry. Therefore, I kind of just, if he's not presently like down with a major arm surgery, I'm just assuming he'll be fine. And he's already throwing again too. So yeah, I'm in. It's just a big fastball, and you're betting on that as the foundation for a very good profile overall. That's a 6 slider right there. Next up, Brody Hopkins. Now we're getting into the land of like, some of these guys have flaws. Brody doesn't throw strikes. He's never thrown strikes. But what he does with the ball is so fun. It's really exciting to envision what he could become if he's like a 12% walk rate guy in the bigs. Stuff models love him. It's a low release, kind of a cutty ride four seam, 5.4 release point. He's 97. He touches 101. Really athletic dude. And he has, I think, potentially some of the best breaking ball feel on this list. He has this 91 mile per hour kind of like cutter that has more drop than average. He has this sick curveball, death ball shape at 85, -11 on. It's basically a reliever breaking ball that he throws as a starting pitcher. He kind of backed off his sweeper. He had like a 2-start stretch this season where he found command. And it was like, oh man, if this guy can hold command, it's over. He hasn't held it. This is a big bet that he figures it out at some point. I won't say it's like the Misiorowski bet, because the Misiorowski upside has just been insane. But it's along those lines of like, this dude has awesome traits. If he could just figure out how to zone the ball, we're looking at a very, very good pitcher. And we're still waiting on that. We got it with Misiorowski. I'm kind of hoping that we could get it with Brody Hopkins, who's one of my favorite pitching prospects in baseball. Gage Jump, we've seen up at the big leagues. Weird pitcher, super good four-seam fastball, but weird because when he got to the majors, what started to grade out better in models at the major league level, so like stuff models, were his sliders. He has a short slider and a sweeper that he throws a lot. These pitches popped as being like the pitches that are good. Despite the fact in the minors, I always viewed him as like a four-seam first, low release, kind of ride four-seam type. And we haven't really seen that. Anytime I see his delivery, he reminds me of Jalen Beeks. It's kind of herky-jerky. It's a really tight arm circle. He verts the ball really well. He's a weird pitcher. Like, I don't doubt that there is more in here. I love the breaking ball feel, and I think he's really good. I'm just a little weirded out by the fact that he was such a good four-seam guy, and now he may have to move off that. Like, the four-seam is just not missing bats in the majors. That's maybe the hesitation on the profile, but I got him 13. All these guys from 13 down to 50 are going to have some concern. It's just a matter of what kind of concern do you want to accept. I'm going to go with the fact this four-seam succeeded in the minors, and now the sliders have gotten better. Changeup development's coming along too, and he's fun. Lagrange, I believe it's pronounced, is a really fun arm. There's a ton of reliever risk here. They're moving him to the bullpen at AAA, which means, yeah, he'll probably debut as a reliever. Then it becomes the tolerance of like, okay, do we think he's figured out something command-wise to the point where we can push him to be a starting pitcher? Because that's why I have him ranked 14th, is that I think long-term, he's a high-walk starting pitcher. The four-seam is great. The secondaries are awesome. It's a short slider, sweeper, changeup. He's similar to a lot of other big four-seam types where it's just so hard that it's good, but it's not great to the point where he can throw it like 50% of the time. And what we've seen this year is the Yankees started having him throw a sinker at 98, which is exceptional. He's really trying to get to his non-fastballs. So maybe not like a Liam Doyle or some of these other guys. McDougal, I think, is going to throw a lot of four-seam fastball. I would say even though he's like sitting 99 and up to 100, or he's been up to 103 in the minors, I don't view him as a guy that is going to survive with a bunch of four-seam fastballs. He's more predicated on his secondaries. So yeah, I struggle with this one as well. You can see like I'm struggling with some of these ranks just because that's how it works. This part of the list, as we're starting to get forward now, it's just a lot of variance on a lot of these guys. So I'm again biasing towards just dudes who throw hard and have shapes that I think will work in the majors, given how important velocity is. So that's where I'm approaching this list from like 10 onward as you're starting to take a look at. Bishop Letson, another really fun name, really fun release traits here up at 7.2 extension, 5.4 release height, good four-seam fastball. The big thing that jumps out to him, he's got a really fun sweeper with a little downer action, -2 vert on it, 14 inches of sweep at 82. He zones this thing incredibly well. He's got really good secondary feel for this sweeper. I don't necessarily know if there's a comp for it. He is to me a little like a Baby Misiorowski, but he's not totally as outliery. So that's why I call him like the Walmart Misiorowski almost. He reminds me a little almost like a Hayden Wesneski who had really good sweeper feel back in the day, but never could figure out the four-seam shape. I think Letson has better four-seam shape, better four-seam playability based on the release traits. The approach angle is pretty flat, so we could assume that, okay, despite the fact he's had terrible results this season, his zone rate's pretty good, the breaking ball feels really good, and you're working on flat VA, big extension. It's a pretty good template of pitcher, and I think he's really fun. I expect him to be like a riser. The Brewers have done a very good job with pitching development, so I'm kind of betting a little bit on that to some extent. The four seam flat up in the zone is really good. He's a fun pitcher. He's a fun pitcher that I think more people should know about. I haven't seen him high up on too many lists, but I'm definitely betting for some improvement long term. Tanner Franklin highlights a trend that I think we'll see in the 2026 draft coming, which is that more teams are going to try to find guys who can convert into starting pitchers and do that in a way that allows them to capture upside. So pay a dude $1 million in second, third, fourth, fifth round as a college reliever who was just blocked out of a role in college, and all of a sudden you now have a really interesting pitching prospect. It's exactly what happened with Tanner Franklin. You redraft now, he's probably in the first round. I have him as a top 20 pitching prospect. He's number 16. It's pretty classic. Yeah, this dude could do a lot of cool things with the ball. Again, the template we're hitting a ton. It's strong fastball shape, big extension, low release. He sits 96, cuts the ball a bit. That allows him to have pretty good spin capacity around the slider and cutter he throws. He's got a curveball at 83 on top of that, which I love, because you could use it in early count as well as deep count situations to offhand hitters. So I'm not too concerned about the lefty approach. The stuff model likes the lefty approach. The strikes in zone aren't great, but do you just push that to the fact he hasn't started a lot? If you do that, then you can assume some strides and gains. The delivery is pretty strong too. It's not as funky as like a Gage Wood or some of these other guys. So he's a clear riser from the draft. He was a reliever at Tennessee who the Cardinals selected alongside Liam Doyle. So they had two guys from that rotation that Tony Vitello had before Vitello went to the Giants. So fun pitcher, a riser. A lot of people just want to see him do it. I'm kind of just betting that it'll work, and the Cardinals are kind of on the up and up from a pitching development standpoint, which I do think they are. They've done a great job in the last year. Jonathan Santucci, you want another guy who walks a lot, despite the fact I actually think his command has improved year over year. If you go back to 2025, he was walking a bit more. This season, he's been pretty solid. It's weird stuff because it's a very steep release point with very vertically sharp breaking balls into the zone that I think are the basic template of his repertoire that will work. 45% zone rate. Big zone miss on this 88 mile per hour kind of like bullet slider from his 6'5 release is really funky. That is what you're betting on. I think the four seam command has been really bad in his career to the point where people just don't think this is going to work versus either handed as a hitter. I personally think it will, partially because he's just going to rip breaking balls to the point where it'll work. And the command isn't as bad as stated. I understand the four seam command specifically to righties is a bit of a concern, but if he could get his curveball, the slider in particular, into the zone enough to use that as a primary weapon, I think the four seam will be good enough to work long term, purely because of the angles he's throwing everything with. Just approach the zone so steep that I'm confident it'll work in some capacity. And you can kind of see this really steep approach, right? It's kind of like, it's a little, again, Trey Savage, where he's getting really high up. He's around like that 45, 50 release height. And it's sick stuff. He gets massive miss versus right-handed hitters. It's some of the better combo breaking balls on this list from the slider and the curveball standpoint. They got him out of a Duke. They kind of retooled him a little bit, jump velocity. I think his slot has kicked up since college as well, and he's been really solid. Another guy from the recent draft, Riley Quick from the Twins. Another arm where I like him because he's huge, 7 feet of extension, decent release height. He throws 3 fastballs. He's got that 3 fastball approach already where it's 4-seam sink cut. Is that a slight concern given that I'm definitely pushing the guys higher up on this list who have strong 4-seam shape? Perhaps, but he sits 96. He's been up to 98. There's been some injury concerns around him. He's basically like a linebacker at Alabama or an offensive lineman. I don't remember, one or the other. He's essentially like a massive human who could also throw very hard. If there's ever going to be a dude that holds up throwing 98, sitting 98, I'm just going to bet on the guy that's larger. I'm just betting on Riley Quick. There's zone here. It's good mix. It's deep mix. There's enough feel for multiple shapes here from a zone perspective, as you see, just massive zone in everything he's throwing, that I project him to be a starting pitcher through and through. I'm, again, not assuming I can predict health risk on a lot of these guys. Therefore, I'm kind of discounting the people who don't like Riley Quick. Here's a little video Fangraphs had the other day. I think they just put out their top 50 prospect list for the Twins organization. It's a pretty standard release. There's really nothing crazy about him. He's just a massive dude, and that allows, I think, some of the release tricks to play up a bit. Carl Steven just went down with a major arm surgery. I think it was Tommy John or flexor surgery. So he was on my list, but I built this list right before this video and my eventual list on my Substack came out. So I'm going to remove him because I remove the injured pitchers, which is why you haven't seen Thomas White. It's why you haven't seen Travis Sikora or Harleen Susana or some of these other guys who've just not pitched. They will push onto the list. You'll see that in the Substack if you were to take a look. And I'll replace him with AJ Russell, who's one of the more interesting fastballs in baseball. He's from Tennessee. He was coming off arm injury last year. He's still, I believe, on the complex, single A, high A. Yeah, he's not really pitched a lot. We're just identifying strong fastball traits. He's got it. He's sitting 93, he's up to 97. 2 plane shape, which the Rangers seem to really be on. 5-foot release height with 7 feet of extension. You see the themes we're hitting on here. Strong fastball shape sets the foundation. for the guy at higher levels to do a very good job expanding mix and becoming a major league starter. It's just really hard to be a good starting pitcher without a strong four-seam fastball shape. And I really love AJ Russell. I think he's a guy that he just needs more innings. A lot of these, there's Caden Scarborough too. It's another Ranger pitcher who I think could be top 20. He just hasn't thrown enough, and I believe he's coming off a cancer recovery. But Russell's traits are just wacky, and I think it'll work. Like, the Rangers seem to have success with these dudes. Alejandro Rosario, Kumar Rocker, he hasn't been great in the major leagues. Jack Leiter's in a similar vein, but yeah, you could see it's weird, man. He's a big dude, moves down the mound, he's kind of lanky and funky, throws really hard, and the four-seam fastball approach angle is just like super, super tight to the zone, which is really why I think a lot of people like him right there. This is a sick pitch. It's a really good pitch. But number 20, Tyler Bremner, first pitcher drafted in the most recent draft. You'll see a lot of draftees kicking onto this list. I actually think last year's class was pretty strong from a pitching standpoint. This one coming up, which I'll have a breakdown of on this YouTube channel coming up in the next week or two, is not as strong. There, of course, will be some gems in it, but this most recent class was really strong. Bremner, I think the Angels took him because he throws really hard. I mean, he sits 96, he's up to 98. It's a big two-plane four-seam with a bunch of spin efficiency. I'm not entirely all the way in here, partially because I don't really think the Angels do a good job on the pitching development standpoint, so you have to round down on a lot of their pitching prospects, which I'm not 100% considering in this calculation, but I am bringing it up on a couple teams. The Angels are one of them, the Athletics slightly, the Rockies are another one that I just don't think internally do a great job making pitchers better. You have to apply it to Bremner. The fact that there are just not a lot of right changeup guys. His changeup's good. It's not Seth Hernandez's changeup. He also doesn't have the breaking ball Seth Hernandez has. His is like 3 miles per hour slower from this bullet shape. It's 88 right now. I do believe he was playing with a cutter. That's going to naturally probably have a little arm side movement, so models aren't going to like it. It comes down to command. We've seen a guy like Gavin Williams get better on that shape this season despite not having great command. So that's kind of the path. It's also stock release traits, but you bet on velocity. The four seam is good enough. It should work. He zones it enough. He gets miss. So the template of a starting pitcher is here. My concern is just, what is he beyond that? What is he beyond the four seam fastball? I'm not entirely sure the Angels can capitalize on all of it. So that's why I have him at 20. Hope you enjoyed this list. There's a lot in here. Hopefully I was able to kind of condense it down in a way that was somewhat actionable if you're playing a dynasty league or just want to know more about these pitchers. And again, I encourage you to check out my Substack. There's a bunch more breakdowns and dashboards just like this in there, and I have write-ups on each of them. And I'll also take questions in there as well, questions in the bottom of this video if you have anyone else you're intrigued by and want to know my thoughts on. Thanks as always for watching.